The Amaranth by Vachel Lindsay. Read for LibriVox.org by Phil Schempf. Ah, in the night all music haunts me here. Is it for naught high heaven cracks and yawns, and the tremendous amaranth descends sweet with the glory of 10,000 dawns? Does it not mean my God would have me say, whether you will or no, O city young, heaven will bloom like one great flower for you, flash and loom greatly all your marts among? Friends, I will not cease hoping though you weep. Such things I see, and some of them shall come, though now our streets are harsh and ashen gray, though our strong youths are strident now, or dumb. Friends, that sweet torn, that wonder town shall rise. Naught can delay it, though it may not be just as I dream. It comes at last, I know, with streets like channels of an incense sea. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Choricos by Richard Aldington. Read for LibriVox.org by Nemo. Choricos. The ancient songs pass deathward mournfully. Cold lips that sing no more, and withered wreaths, regretful eyes and drooping breast and wings, symbols of ancient songs, mournfully passing, down to the great white surges, watched of none save the frail seabirds and the lithe pale girls, daughters of Okeanos. And the songs pass from the green land, which lies upon the waves as a leaf on the flowers of hyacinth. And they pass from the waters, the manifold winds and the dim moon, and they come, silently winging through soft Cimmerian dusk, to the quiet level lands that she keeps for us all, that she wrought for us all for sleep in the silver days of the earth's dawning. Proserpine, daughter of Zeus. And we turn from the Cuprian's breast, and we turn from thee, Phoebus, Apollon, and we turn from the music of old, and the hills that we loved and the meads, and we turn from the fiery day, and the lips that were oversweet, for silently brushing the fields with red-shod feet, with purple robe, searing the flowers as with a sudden flame, death, thou hast come upon us. And of all the ancient songs, passing to the swallow-blue halls, by the dark streams of Persephone, this only remains, that in the end we turn to thee, Death, that we turn to thee, singing one last song. O Death, thou art an healing wind that blowest over white flowers a-tremble with dew. Thou art a wind flowing over long leagues of lonely sea. Thou art the dusk and the fragrance. Thou art the lips of love mournfully smiling. Thou art the pale peace of one, satiate with old desires. Thou art the silence of beauty, and we look no more for the morning, we yearn no more for the sun, since with thy white hands, Death, thou crownest us with the pallid chaplets, the slim colourless poppies, which in thy garden alone softly thou gatherest. And silently, and with slow feet approaching, and with bowed head and unlit eyes, we kneel before thee, and thou, leaning towards us, caressingly layest upon us flowers from thy thin cold hands, and, smiling as a chaste woman, knowing love in her heart, thou sealest our eyes, and the illimitable quietude comes gently upon us. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Christmas Day by Charles Kingsley. Read for LibriVox.org by Thomas Peter. How will it dawn, the coming Christmas Day? A northern Christmas, such as painters love, and kinsfolk, shaking hands but once a year, and dames who tell old legends by the fire. Red sun, blue sky, white snow, and pearled ice, keen ringing air, which sets the blood on fire, and makes the old man merry with the young, through the short sunshine, through the longer night. What 'tis to be a man, to curb and spurn the tyrant in us, that ignobler self which boasts, not loathes, its likeness to the brute, and owns no good save ease, no ill save pain, no purpose save its share in that wild war in which, through countless ages, living things compete in internecine greed. Ah, God, are we as creeping things which have no Lord? That we are brutes, great God, we know too well, apes daintier featured, silly birds who flaunt their plumes, unheeding of the fowler's step, spiders who catch with paper, not with webs, tigers who slay with cannon and sharp steel instead of teeth and claws. All these we are. Are we no more than these, save in degree? No more than these, and born but to compete, to envy and devour, like beast or herb, mere fools of nature, puppets of strong lusts, taking the sword, to perish with the sword upon the universal battlefield, even as the things upon the moor outside. The heath eats up green grass and delicate flowers, the pine eats up the heath, the grub the pine, the finch the grub, the hawk the silly finch, and man, the mightiest of all beasts of prey, eats what he lists. The strong eat up the weak, the many eat the few, great nations, small, and he who cometh in the name of all shall, greediest, triumph by the greed of all, and, armed by his own victims, eat up all, while ever out of the eternal heavens looks patient down the great magnanimous God, who, maker of all worlds, did sacrifice all to himself, nay, but himself to one, who taught mankind on that first Christmas Day what 'twas to be a man, to give, not take. Or southern Christmas, dark and dank with mist, and heavy with the scent of steaming leaves, and rosebuds mouldering on the dripping porch, one twilight, without rise or set of sun, till beetles drone along the hollow lane, and round the leafless hawthorns, flitting bats hawk the pale moths of winter. Welcome, then, at best, the flying gleam, the flying shower, the rain-pools glittering on the long white roads, and shadows sweeping on from down to down before the salt Atlantic gale. Yet come in whatsoever garb, or gay or sad, come fair, come foul, 'twill still be Christmas Day. How will it dawn, the coming Christmas Day? To sailors lounging on the lonely deck beneath the rushing trade-wind, or to him who by some noisome harbour of the East watches swart arms roll down the precious bales, spoils of the tropic forests, year by year amid the din of heathen voices, growing himself half-heathen? How to those brave hearts, who toil with laden loins and sinking stride beside the bitter wells of treeless sands, toward the peaks which flood the ancient Nile to free a tyrant's captives? How to those new patriarchs of the new-found underworld, who stand like Jacob on the virgin lawns and count their flocks increase? To them that day shall dawn in glory, and solstitial blaze of full midsummer sun. To them that morn gay flowers beneath their feet, gay birds aloft, shall tell of naught but summer. But to them, ere yet, unwarned by carol or by chime, they spring into the saddle, Thrills may come from that great heart of Christendom which beats round all the worlds, and gracious thoughts of youth, of steadfast folk who worship God at home, of wise words learnt beside their mother's knee, of innocent faces, upturned once again in awe and joy to listen to the tale of God made man and in a manger laid, may soften, purify, and raise the soul from selfish cares and growing lust of gain, and phantoms of this dream, which some call life, toward the eternal facts, for here or there, summer or winter, 'twill be Christmas Day. Blessed day, which aye reminds us, year by year, to serve, not rule, to nourish, not devour, to help, not crush, if need, to die, not live. O blessed day, which givest the eternal lie to self, and sense, and all the brute within, oh, come to us, amid this war of life, to hall and hovel come, to all who toil in senate, shop, or study, and to those who, sundered by the wastes of half a world, ill-warned and sorely tempted, ever face nature's brute powers and men unmanned to brutes. Come to them, blessed and blessing Christmas Day. Tell them once more the tale of Bethlehem, the kneeling shepherds, and the babe divine, and keep them men indeed, fair Christmas Day. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Christmas Tears by Edward Capern. Read for LibriVox.org by Garth Burton. I hear the loud and merry ring Of mirth upon the breeze, The Christmas waits are carolling Beneath the linden trees. 'Tis strange I cannot welcome them As I was wont to do. I hear a dirge in every hymn, In every note a woe. What is the reason? Neighbours say 'tis more than passing strange. Come, gentle Muse, and give them, pray, a reason for the change. The Yule log burns as brightly now, To warm the chilly air, As when beneath the laurel bough My mother graced her chair. The bells ring out as merrily, As sweetly sings the choir, As when with Christmas minstrelsy They carolled round her fire. But she has left her wonted place, And dull is every sound, The joy, the light of every face, Sleeps far beneath the ground. Now when I take my much-loved flute, To pipe a joyous strain, To every accent it is mute, Save that which doth complain. The seasons come and pass away, The springtime with its glee, The summer with its warmer ray, And autumn, dear to me. I love to list the sweeping gale That bares its yellow trees, And hear its melancholy wail In each complaining breeze. I tread upon each crumpled leaf, And mourn with every breath, That life, at best so frail and brief, Should yield so soon to death. When winter comes, I seek some nook To weep my mother gone, Whilst fancy tracks each path she took, Where I must walk alone. The lane, the hill, the murmuring rill, The stile she called her own, Are sacred to my memory still, And crowd it one by one. The flow'rets she was wont to cull I seek when spring is near, The primrose and the purple bell, And bathe them with a tear. Join, ye who can, the festive scene, And each sad feeling spurn, I'll hang my walls with cypress green, And sit alone and mourn. Throwing my crumbs upon the snow, I'll little robins tend, and bid their plaintive accents flow to mourn a common friend. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Consider Thou, O Man, from the Arabian Nights, by Anonymous, read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. Consider thou, O man, what these places to thee showed, and be upon thy guard ere thou travel the same road, and prepare thee good provision some day may serve thy turn, for each dweller in the house needs must yield with those who yode. Consider how this people their palaces adorned, and in dust have been pledged for the seed of acts they sowed. They built, but their building availed them not, and hordes nor saved their lives, nor day of destiny forslowed. How often did they hope for what things were undecreed, and passed into their tombs before hope the bounty showed. And from high and awful state all a sudden they were sent to the straitness of the grave, and, oh, base is their abode. Then came to them a crier after burial, and cried, What booted thrones or crowns, or the gold to you bestowed? Where now are gone the faces hid by curtain and by veil, whose charms were told in proverbs, those beauties à la mode? The tombs aloud reply to the questioners, and cry, Death's canker and decay those rosy cheeks corrode. Long time they ate and drank, but their joyance had a term, and the eater eke was eaten, and was eaten by the worm. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To His Coy Mistress by Andrew Marvell. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. Had we but world enough and time, this coyness lady were no crime. We would sit down and think which way to walk, and pass our long love's day. Thou by the Indian Ganges' side shouldst rubies find. I by the tide of Humber would complain. I would love you 10 years before the flood, and you should, if you please, refuse till the conversion of the Jews. My vegetable love should grow vaster than empires, and more slow. 100 years should go to praise thine eyes, and on thy forehead gaze. 200 to adore each breast, but 30,000 to the rest, an age at least to every part, and the last age should show your heart. For, lady, you deserve this state, nor would I love at lower rate. But at my back I always hear Time's winged chariot hurrying near, and yonder all before us lie deserts of vast eternity. Thy beauty shall no more be found, nor in thy marble vault shall sound my echoing song. Then worms shall try that long-preserved virginity, and your quaint honor turn to dust, and into ashes all my lust. The grave's a fine and private place, but none, I think, do there embrace. Now therefore, while the youthful hue sits on thy skin like morning dew, and while thy willing soul transpires at every pore with instant fires, now let us sport us while we may, and now, like amorous birds of prey, rather at once our time devour, than languish in his slow-chapped power. Let us roll all our strength and all our sweetness up into one ball, and tear our pleasures with rough strife through the iron gates of life. Thus, though we cannot make our sun stand still, yet we will make him run. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Dolores, Notre Dame de Sept Dolores, by Algernon Charles Swinburne. Read for LibriVox by Timothy Ferguson. Cold eyelids that hide like a jewel, hard eyes that grow soft for an hour, their heavy white limbs and cruel red mouth like a venomous flower. When these are gone by with their glories, what shall rest of thee then, what remain, O mystic and sombre Dolores, Our Lady of Pain? 7 sorrows the priests give their virgin, but thy sins, which are 70 times 7, 7 ages would fail thee to purge in, and then they would haunt thee in heaven. Fierce midnights and famishing morrows, and the loves that complete and control all the joys of the flesh, all the sorrows that wear out the soul. O garment not golden but gilded, O garden where all men may dwell, O tower not of ivory but builded by hands that reach heaven from hell, O mystical rose of the mire, O house not of gold but of gain, O house of unquenchable fire, Our Lady of Pain. O lips full of lust and of laughter, curled snakes that are fed from my breast, bite hard lest remembrance come after and press with new lips where you pressed. For my heart too springs up at the pressure, mine eyelids too moisten and burn. Ah, feed me and fill me with pleasure, ere pain come in turn. In yesterday's reach and tomorrow's, out of sight though they lie of today, there have been and there yet shall be sorrows that smite not and bite not in play. The life and the love thou despisest, these hurt us indeed and in vain, O wise among women and wisest, Our Lady of Pain. Who gave thee thy wisdom? What stories that stung thee, what visions that smote? Wert thou pure and a maiden, Dolores, when desire took thee first by the throat? What bud was the shell of a blossom that all men may smell to and pluck? What milk fed thee first at what bosom? What sins gave thee suck? We shift and bedeck and bedrape us. Thou art noble and nude and antique. Libertina thy mother, Priapus thy father, a Tuscan and a Greek. We play with light loves in the portal and wince and relent and refrain. Loves die, and we know thee immortal, Our Lady of Pain. Fruits fall and love dies and time ranges. Thou art fed with perpetual breath, and alive after infinite changes, and fresh from the kisses of death, of languors rekindled and rallied, of barren delights and unclean things, monstrous and fruitless, a pallid and poisonous queen. Could you hurt me, sweet lips, though I hurt you? Men touch them and change in a trice the lilies and languors of virtue for the raptures and roses of vice. Those lie where thy foot on the floor is. These crown and caress thee and chain, O splendid and sterile Dolores, Our Lady of Pain. There are sins, it may be, to discover. There are deeds, it may be, to delight. What new work wilt thou find for thy lover? What new passions for daytime or night? What spells that they know not a word of, whose lives are as leaves overblown? What tortures undreamt of, unheard of, unwritten, unknown? Ah, beautiful passionate body that never has ached with a heart! On thy mouth, though kisses are bloody, though they sting till it shudder and smart, more kind than the love we adore is, they hurt not the heart or the brain. O bitter and tender Dolores, Our Lady of Pain. As our kisses relax and redouble from the lips and the foam and the fangs, shall no new sin be born for men's trouble, no dream of impossible pangs. With the sweet of the sins of old ages wilt thou satiate thy soul as of yore? Too sweet is the rind, say the sages, too bitter the core. Hast thou told all thy secrets the last time, and bared all thy beauties to one? Ah, where shall we go then for pastime, if the worst that can be has been done? But sweet as the rind was, the core is. We are fain of thee still, we are fain, O sanguine and subtle Dolores, Our Lady of Pain. By the hunger of change and emotion, by the thirst of unbearable things, by despair, the twin-born of devotion, by the pleasure that winces and stings, the delight that consumes the desire that outruns the delight, by the cruelty deaf as a fire and blind as the night, by the ravenous teeth that have smitten through the kisses that blossom and bud, by the lips intertwisted and bitten till the foam has a savour of blood, by the pulse as it rises and falters, by the hands as they slacken and strain, I adjure thee, respond from thine altars, Our Lady of Pain. Wilt thou smile as a woman disdaining the light fire in the veins of a boy? But he comes to thee sad without feigning, who has wearied of sorrow and joy, less careful of labour and glory than the elders whose hair has uncurled, and young, but with fancies as hoary and grey as the world. I have passed from the uttermost portal to the shrine where a sin is a prayer. What care though the service be mortal? O Our Lady of Torture, what care? All thine the last wine that I pour is, the last in the chalice we drain, O fierce and luxurious Dolores, Our Lady of Pain. All thine this new wine of desire, the fruit of 4 lips as they clung till the hair and the eyelids took fire, the foam of a serpentine tongue, the froth of the serpents of pleasure, more salt than the foam of the sea, now felt as a flame, now at leisure, as wine shed for me. Ah, thy people, thy children, thy chosen, marked cross from the womb and perverse, they have found out the secret to cozen the gods that constrain us and curse. They alone, they are wise and none other. Give me place, even me, in their train, O my sister, my spouse, and my mother, Our Lady of Pain. For the crown of our life as it closes is darkness, the fruit thereof dust. No thorns go as deep as a rose's, and love is more cruel than lust. Time turns the old days to derision, our loves into corpses or wives, and marriage and death and division make barren our lives. And pale from the past we draw nigh thee, and satiate with comfortless hours, and we know thee, how all men belie thee, and we gather the fruit of thy flowers, the passion that slays and recovers, the pangs and the kisses that rain on the lips and the limbs of thy lovers, Our Lady of Pain. The desire of thy furious embraces is more than the wisdom of years. On the blossom, though blood lie in traces, though the foliage be sodden with tears, for the lords in whose keeping the door is that opens on all who draw breath, gave cypress to love, my Dolores, the myrtle to death. And they laughed, changing hands in the measure, and they mixed and made peace after strife. Pain melted in tears and was pleasure, death tingled with blood and was life. Like lovers they melted and tingled in dusk of thy innermost fane. In the darkness they murmured and mingled, Our Lady of Pain. In a twilight where virtues are vices, in thy chapels unknown of the sun, to tune that enthralls and entices they were wed, and the twain were as one. For the tune from thine altar hath sounded since God bade the world's work begin, and the fume of thine incense abounded to sweeten the sin. Love listens, and paler than ashes, through his curls as the crown on them slips, lifts languid wet eyelids and lashes, and laughs with insatiable lips. Thou shalt hush him with heavy caresses, with music that scares the profane. Thou shalt darken his eyes with thy tresses, Our Lady of Pain. Thou shalt blind his bright eyes, though he wrestle. Thou shalt chain his light limbs, though he strive. In his lips all thy serpents shall nestle. In his hands all thy cruelties thrive. In the daytime thy voice shall go through him. In his dreams he shall feel thee and ache. Thou shalt kindle by night, and subdue him asleep and awake. Thou shalt touch and make redder his roses with juice, not of fruit nor of bud. When the sense in the spirit reposes, thou shalt quicken the soul through the blood. Thine the one grace we implore is, who would live and not languish or feign, O sleepless and deadly Dolores, Our Lady of Pain. Thou dost dream in a respite of slumber, in a lull of the fires of thy life, of the days without name, without number, when thy will stung the world into strife, when, a goddess, the pulse of thy passion smote kings as they revelled in Rome, and they hailed thee, re-risen, O Thalassian, foam white from the foam. When thy lips had such lovers to flatter, when the city lay red from thy rods, and thine hands were as arrows to scatter the children of change and their gods, when the blood of thy foemen made fervent a sand never moist from the main, as one smote them, their lord and thy servant, Our Lady of Pain. On sands by the storm never shaken, nor wet from the washing of tides, nor by foam of the waves overtaken, nor winds that the thunder bestrides, but red from the print of thy paces, made smooth for the world and its lords, ringed round with a flame of fair faces and splendid with swords. There the gladiator, pale for thy pleasure, drew bitter and perilous breath. Their torments laid hold on their treasure of limbs too delicious for death. When thy gardens were lit with live torches, when the world was a steed for thy reign, when the nations lay prone in thy porches, Our Lady of Pain. When, with flame all around him, aspirant stood flushed as a harp player stands, the implacable, beautiful tyrant, rose-crowned, having death in his hands, and a sound as a sound of loud water smote far through the flight of the fires, and mixed with the lightning of slaughter a thunder of lyres. Dost thou dream of what was and no more is, the old kingdoms of earth and the kings? Dost thou hunger for these things, Dolores, for these in a world of new things? But thy bosom no fasts could emaciate, no hunger compel to complain, those lips that no bloodshed could satiate, Our Lady of Pain. As of old, when the world's heart was lighter, through thy garments the grace of thee glows, the white wealth of thy body made whiter by the blushes of amorous blows, and seamed with sharp lips and fierce fingers, and braided by kisses that bruise. When all shall be gone that now lingers, what shall we lose? Thou wert fair in the fearless old fashion, and thy limbs are as melodies yet, and move to the music of passion with lithe and lascivious regret. What ailed us, O gods, to desert you for creeds that refuse and restrain? Come down and redeem us from virtue, Our Lady of Pain. All shrines that were vestal are flameless, but the flame has not fallen from this. Though obscure be the god, and though nameless the eyes and the hair that we kiss, lo fires that love sits by and forges fresh heads for his arrows, and thine, hair loosed and soiled in mid-orgies with kisses and wine. Thy skin changes country and colour, and shrivels or swells to a snake's. Let it brighten and bloat and grow duller. We know it, the flames and the flakes, red brands on it smitten and bitten, round skies where a star is a stain, and the leaves with thy litanies written, Our Lady of Pain. On thy bosom, though many a kiss be, there are none such as knew it of old. Was it Alcafron once, or a Risby, male ringlets or feminine gold, that thy lips met with under the statue, whence a look shot out sharp after thieves from the eyes of the garden god at you across the fig leaves? Then still, through dry seasons and moister, one god had a wreath to his shrine. Then love was the pearl of his oyster, and Venus rose red out of wine. We have all done amiss, choosing rather such loves as the wise gods disdain. Intercede for us thou with thy father, Our Lady of Pain. In spring he had crowns of his garden, red corn in the heat of the year, then hoary green olives that harden when the grape blossom freezes with fear, and milk-budded myrtles with Venus, and vine leaves with Bacchus he trod. And ye said, We have seen, he hath seen us, a visible God. What broke off the garlands that girt you? What sundered your spirit and clay? Weak sins, yet alive, are as virtue to the strength of the sins of that day. For dried is the blood of thy lover. Ipsithilla contracted the vein. Cry aloud, will he rise and recover, Our Lady of Pain? Cry aloud, for the old world is broken. Cry out, for the Phrygian is priest, and he rears not the bountiful token, and spreads not the fatherly feast. From the midmost of Ida, from shady recesses that murmur the morn, we have brought and baptized her, Our Lady, a goddess new-born. And the chaplets of old are above us, and the oyster-beds teem out of reach. Old poets out-sing and out-love us, and Catullus makes mouths at our speech. Who shall kiss in thy father's own city with such lips as he sang with again? Intercede for us all of thy pity, Our Lady of Pain. Out of Dindymus heavily laden, her lions draw bound and unfed, a mother, a mortal, a maiden, a queen over death and the dead. She is cold and her habit is lowly, her temple of branches and sods, most fruitful and virginal, holy, a mother of gods. She hath wasted with fire thine high places, she hath hidden and marred and made sad the fair limbs of the loves, the fair faces of gods that were goodly and glad. She slays and her hands are not bloody, she moves as a moon in the wane, white-robed, and thy raiment is ruddy, Our Lady of Pain. They shall pass and their places be taken, the gods and the priests that are pure, they shall pass, and shalt thou not be shaken. They shall perish, and shalt thou endure. Death laughs, breathing close and relentless in the nostrils and eyelids of lust, with a pinch in his fingers of scentless and delicate dust. But the worm shall revive thee with kisses. Thou shalt change and transmute as a god, as the rod to a serpent that hisses, as the serpent again to a rod. Thy life shall not cease, though thou doff it. Thou shalt live until evil be slain, and good shall die first, said thy prophet, Our Lady of Pain. Did he lie? Did he laugh? Does he know it? Now he lies out of reach, out of breath. Thy prophet, thy preacher, thy poet, since child by incestuous death, did he find out in fire at his waking, or discern as his eyelids lost light, when the bands of the body were breaking, and all came in sight? Who has known all the evil before us, or the tyrannous secrets of time? Though we match not the dead men that bore us at a song, at a kiss, at a crime, though the heathen outface and outlive us, and our lives and our longings are twain, forgive us our virtues, forgive us, Our Lady of Pain. Who are we that embalm and embrace thee with spices and savours of song? What is time that his children should face thee? What am I that my lips do thee wrong? I could hurt thee, but pain would delight thee, or caress thee, but love would repel, and the lovers whose lips would excite thee are serpents in hell. Who now shall content thee as they did, thy lovers, when temples were built, and the hair of the sacrifice braided, and the blood of the sacrifice spilt? In Lampsacus fervent with faces, in Africa red from thy reign, who embraced thee with awful embraces, Our Lady of Pain? Where are they, Cotito or Venus, Astarte or Ashtaroth? Where? Do their hands, as we touch, come between us? Is the breath of them hot in thy hair? From their lips have thy lips taken fever, with the blood of their bodies grown red? Hast thou left upon earth a believer, if these men are dead? They were purple of raiment and golden, filled full of thee, fiery with wine, thy lovers in haunts unbeholden, in marvellous chambers of thine. They are fled, and their footprints escape us, who appraise thee, adore and abstain, O daughter of death and Priapus, Our Lady of Pain. What ails us to fear over measure, to praise thee with timorous breath, O mistress and mother of pleasure, the one thing as certain as death. We shall change, as the things that we cherish shall fade as they faded before, as foam upon water shall perish, as sand upon shore. We shall know what the darkness discovers, if the grave pit be shallow or deep, and our fathers of old and our lovers, we shall know if they sleep not or sleep. We shall see whether hell be not heaven, find out whether tares be not grain, and the joys of thee 70 times 7, Our Lady of Pain. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Farewell by Emily Dickinson. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. Tie the strings to my life, my lord, then I am ready to go. Just a look at the horses, rapid, that will do. Put me in on the firmest side, so I shall never fall, for we must ride to the judgment, and it's partly downhill. But never I mind the bridges, and never I mind the sea, held fast in everlasting race by my own choice and thee. Goodbye to the life I used to live, and the world I used to know, and kiss the hills for me just once. Now I am ready to go. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
If Love Make Me Forsworn by William Shakespeare. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. If love make me forsworn, how shall I swear to love? Oh, never faith could hold, if not to beauty vowed. Though to myself forsworn, to thee I'll constant prove. Those thoughts, to me like oaks, to thee like osiers bowed. Study his bias leaves, and make his book thine eyes, where all those pleasures live that art can comprehend. If knowledge be the mark, to know thee shall suffice. Well learned is that tongue that well can thee commend. All ignorant that soul that sees thee without wonder, which is to me some praise that I thy parts admire. Thy eye Jove's lightning seems, thy voice his dreadful thunder, which, not to anger bent, is music and sweet fire. Celestial as thou art, O do not love that wrong, to sing heaven's praise with such an earthly tongue. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
It Was Not Death, for I Stood Up by Emily Dickinson. Read for LibriVox.org by Elizabeth Parsons. It was not death, for I stood up, and all the dead lie down. It was not night, for all the bells put out their tongues for noon. It was not frost, for on my flesh I felt sirocco's crawl, nor fire, for just my marble feet could keep a chancel cool. And yet it tasted like them all, the figures I have seen set orderly for burial reminded me of mine, as if my life were shaven and fitted to a frame, and could not breathe without a key, and 'twas like midnight some, when everything that ticked is stopped, and space stares all around, or grisly frosts, first autumn morns, repeal the beating ground, but most like chaos, stopless, cool, without a chance or spar, or even a report of land to justify despair. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Learned Collegians by Jean-Pierre Claris de Florian, 1755 to 1794. Read for LibriVox.org. An owl drawn from his hiding place by students in pursuit of knowledge was made to show his sapient face within the precincts of a college. There quartered with a cat and goose, he of the privilege made use to go with them the whole course through. Herodotus by heart they knew, Denis of Halicarnassus too, and all that Titus Livy wrote, like learned doctors they could quote. Discussing once as doctors do, they passed the ancients in review. Upon my faith, the cat exclaimed, the Egyptians were of all most famed. No people ever were more wise, more law-abiding or discreet, none more religious 'neath the skies. For that alone I think it meet, that Egypt should bear off the prize. The owl responded, in my view, to Athens the first prize is due. Whoever knew such wit, such grace, such bravery in any race? No state more noble man e'er bore, or with less means accomplished more. Of all the nations, Greece ranked first. Hold there, the goose in wrath outspoke. You reckon Rome then last and worst? Perhaps, my friends, you are in joke. What nation ever equaled Rome? In grandeur, glory, arts, and war, Egypt and Greece can't near it come. All nations it excelled by far. The men of Rome my favorites are. They conquered on both land and sea. To this, at least, you must agree. But while the pedants thus debate, they each became more obstinate, until a rat, who had much wit from eating learned manuscript, cried to the crew, I see why each should hold his view. In Egypt men adored the cat, the Athenians worshipped owls, the Romans petted and made fat the goose as first of fowls. As your self-interest points the way, so your opinions turn and sway. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Life by Griffith Alexander. Read for LibriVox.org by mnlopez. What is life, we ask? Just one damn thing after another, the cynic replies. Yes, a multiplicity of forces and interests, and each of them, even the disagreeable, may be of real help to us. It's good for a dog, says a shrewd philosopher, to be pestered with fleas. It keeps him from thinking too much about being a dog. What is life? A story or a song? A race on any track? A gay adventure, short or long? A puzzling nut to crack? A grinding task? A pleasant stroll? A climb? A slide downhill? A constant striving for our goal? A cake? A bitter pill? A pit where fortune floats or stings? A playground full of fun? With many, any of these things? With others all in one? What's life? To love the things we see, the hills that touch the skies, the smiling sea, the laughing Lee, the light in women's eyes. To work and love the work we do, to play a game that's square, to grin a bit when feeling blue, with friends our joys to share, to smile through games, be lost or won, to earn our daily bread, and when at last the day is done, to tumble into bed. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Monotones by Algernon Charles Swinburne. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. Because there is but one truth, because there is but one banner, because there is but one light, because we have with us our youth once, and one chance, and one manner of service, and then the night. Because we have found not yet any way for the world to follow, save only that ancient way. Whosoever forsake or forget, whose faith soever be hollow, whose hope soever grow gray, because of the watchwords of kings, that are many and strange and unwritten, diverse, and our watchword is one, Therefore, though 7 be the strings, 1 string, if the harp be smitten, soul sounds till the tune be done. Sounds without cadence or change, in a weary, monotonous burden, be the keynote of mourning or mirth, free, but free not to range, taking for crown and for guerdon no man's praise upon earth, saying one sole word evermore, in the ears of the charmed world saying, charmed by spells to its death. One that chanted of yore, to a tune of the sword sweeps playing, in the lips of the dead blue breath. Therefore I set not mine hand to the shifting of changed modulations, to the smiting of manifold strings, while the thrones of the throned men stand, one song for the morning of nations, one for the twilight of kings. One chord, one word, and one way, one hope as our law, one heaven, till slain be the great one wrong, till the people it could not slay, risen up, have for one star 7, for a single, a sevenfold song. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
New Year's Gifts by Anonymous. Read for LibriVox.org by Thomas Peter. The young men and maids on New Year's Day their loves they will present, with many a gift both fine and gay, which gives them true content. And though the gift be great or small, yet this is the custom still, expressing their loves in ribbons and gloves, it being their kind goodwill. Young bachelors will not spare their coin, but thus their love is shown. Young Richard will buy a bodkin fine, and give it honest Joan. There's Nancy and Sue with honest Prue, young damsels both fair and gay, will give to the men choice presents again for the honour of New Year's Day. Fine ruffs, cravats of curious lace, maids give them fine and neat, for this the young men will them embrace with tender kisses sweet, and give them many pleasant toys to deck them fine and gay, as bodkins and rings with other fine things for the honour of New Year's Day. It being the first day of the year to make the old amends, all those that have it will dress good cheer, inviting all their friends to drink great James's royal health, as very well subjects may, with many healths more, which we have store, for the honour of New Year's Day. From A Cabinet of Choice Jewels, Anno Domini 1688. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Noiseless Patient Spider by Walt Whitman, read for LibriVox.com. A noiseless patient spider, I marked where on a little promontory it stood isolated, marked how, to explore the vacant, vast surrounding, it launched forth filament, filament, filament out of itself, ever unreeling them, ever tirelessly speeding them. And you, O my soul, where you stand, surrounded, detached, in measureless oceans of space, ceaselessly musing, venturing, throwing, seeking the spheres to connect them, till the bridge you will need be formed, till the ductile anchor hold, till the gossamer thread you fling catch somewhere, O my soul. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Oblation by Algernon Charles Swinburne. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. Ask nothing more of me, sweet. All I can give you, I give. Heart of my heart, were it more, more would be laid at your feet. Love that should help you to live, song that should spur you to soar. All things were nothing to give, once to have sense of you more, touch you and taste of you sweet, think you and breathe you and live, swept of your wings as they soar, trodden by chance of your feet. I that have love and no more, give you but love of you, sweet. He that hath more, let him give. He that hath wings, let him soar. Mine is the heart at your feet, here that must love you to live. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Only of Thee and Me by Louis Untermeyer. Read for LibriVox.org by Helen Z. Ferrara, Teaneck N.J. Bourgine. Only of thee and me the night wind sings. Only of us the sailors speak at sea. The earth is filled with wondered whisperings. Only of thee and me. Only of thee and me the breakers chant. Only of us the air in brush and tree. The rain and the sunshine tell the eager plant. Only of thee and me. Only of thee and me till all shall fade. Only of us the whole world's thoughts can be. For we are love, and God himself is made. Only of thee and me. This poem is in the public domain.
Prayer at Sunrise by James Weldon Johnson. Read for LibriVox.org by Phil Schempf. O mighty, powerful, dark-dispelling sun, now thou art arisen, and thy day begun, how shrink the shrouding mists before thy face, as up thou spring'st to thy diurnal race! How darkness chases darkness to the west, as shades of light on light rise radiant from thy crest! For thee, great source of strength, emblem of might, in hours of darkest gloom there is no night. Thou shinest on, though clouds hide thee from sight, and through each break thou sendest down thy light. O great Maker of this thy great sun, give me the strength this one day's race to run. Fill me with light, fill me with the sun-like strength, fill me with joy to rob the day its length. Light from within, light that will outward shine, strength to make strong some weaker heart than mine, joy to make glad each soul that feels its touch. Great Father of the sun, I ask this much. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Retribution by Ludwig Uhland. Translated by Lady John Manners. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgatenovelist. The serf his noble lord hath slain, become a knight the serf would fain. In the dark wood the knight he slew, in the deep Rhine the corpse he threw. Then put he on the armour bright, bestrode the charger of the knight. As o'er the bridge to pass he tried, the charger reared and plunged aside. With the gold spur he pricked its flank, it threw him, in the stream he sank. With hand and foot he tried to swim, the coat of mail o'ermastered him. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Second Coming by William Butler Yeats. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. Turning and turning in the widening gyre, the falcon cannot hear the falconer. Things fall apart, the centre cannot hold, mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. The blood-dimmed tide is loosed, and everywhere the ceremony of innocence is drowned. The best lack all conviction, while the worst are full of passionate intensity. Surely some revelation is at hand. Surely the second coming is at hand. The second coming. Hardly are those words out, when a vast image out of Spiritus Mundi troubles my sight. A waste of desert sand, a shape with lion body and the head of a man. A gaze blank and pitiless as the sun is moving its slow thighs, while all about it wind shadows of the indignant desert birds. The darkness drops again, but now I know that 30 centuries of stony sleep were vexed to nightmare by a rocking cradle, and what rough beast, its hour come round at last, slouches toward Bethlehem to be born. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Shepherd's Sabbath-Song by Ludwig Uhland. Translated by Lady John Manners. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgatenovelist. It is the Sabbath of the Lord. In the wide plain I am alone. One morning bell chimes forth its tone. Now perfect quiet reigns abroad. Adoring, kneel I here. O secret awe! I thrill, and feel as if a multitude did kneel, unseen, and praying near. The sky, so vast and broad, is glorious on every side, almost as if 'twould open wide. It is the Sabbath of the Lord. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Siegfried's Sword by Ludwig Uhland. Translated by Lady John Manners. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgatenovelist. Young Siegfried's heart was full of pride. He from his father's castle hied, could not rest in his father's home, but over the wide world would roam. There met him many a brave knight, with massive shield and broadsword bright. Only a staff young Siegfried bore. This chafed and vexed his spirit sore, and as he went through the dark wood, soon came he where a smithy stood. Plenty of iron and steel was there, the fire was blazing in the air. Good master, listen now to me, and let me thine apprentice be, and teach thou me, with skill and care, how they the good broadswords prepare. Young Siegfried swung the hammer round, he smote the anvil to the ground. He smote, so that the woodlands rang, and all the iron to pieces sprang. From the last bar of iron he made a good broadsword, a gleaming blade. Now have I forged a broadsword bright, now am a match for any knight. Now like a hero will I kill giants and dragons in forest and hill. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Singing Place by Lily A. Long. Read for LibriVox.org by Nemo. The Singing Place. Cold may lie the day, and bare of grace. At night I slip away to the singing place. A border of mist and doubt before the gate, and the dancing stars grow still, as hushed I wait. Then faint and far away I catch the beat, in broken rhythm and rhyme, of joyous feet. Lifting waves of sound that will rise and swell, if the prying eyes of thought break not the spell. Rise and swell and retreat, and fall and flee, as over the edge of sleep they beckon me, and I wait as the seaweed waits for the lifting tide. To ask would be to awake, to be denied. I cloud my eyes in the mist that veils the hem, and then with a rush I am past. I am theirs and of them. And the pulsing chant swells up to touch the sky, and the song is joy, is life, and the song am I. The thunderous music peals around o'erhead. The dead would awake to hear, if there were dead. But the life of the throbbing sun is in the song, and we weave the world anew, and the singing throng fill every corner of space. Over the edge of sleep I bring but a trace of the chants that pulse and sweep in the singing place. End a poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Soul's Prayer, a poem by Sarojini Naidu. This is a LibriVox recording by Yasmin Hoshnud. In childhood's pride I said to thee, O thou who madest me of thy breath, speak, Master, and reveal to me thine utmost laws of life and death. Give me to drink each joy and pain which thine eternal hand can met, for my insatiate soul can drain earth's utmost bitter, utmost sweet. Spare me no bliss, no pang of strife, withhold no gift or grief I crave, the intricate lore of love and life, and mystic knowledge of the grave. Lord, thou didst answer, stern and low, Child, I will hearken to thy prayer, and thy unconquered soul shall know all passionate rapture and despair. Thou shalt drink deep of joy and fame, and love shall burn thee like a fire, and pain shall cleanse thee like a flame, to purge the dross from thy desire. So shall thy chastened spirit yearn to seek from its blind prayer release, spend and pardoned, sue to learn the simple secret of my peace. I, bending from my sevenfold height, will teach thee of my quickening grace. Life is a prism of my light, and death the shadow of my face. End of poem. This poem is in the public domain.
The Spleen by Anne Kingsmill Finch, Countess of Winchelsea. Read for LibriVox.org by Eva Davis. A Pindaric Poem. What art thou, Spleen, which every thing dost ape? Thou Proteus to abused mankind, who never yet thy real cause could find, or fix thee to remain in one continued shape. Still varying thy perplexing form, now a dead sea thou to represent, a calm of stupid discontent, then dashing on the rocks wilt rage into a storm. Trembling sometimes thou dost appear, dissolved into a panic fear. On sleep intruding dost thy shadow spread, thy gloomy terrors round the silent bed, and crowd with boding dreams the melancholy head. Or when the midnight hour is told, and drooping lids thou still dost waking hold, thy fond delusions cheat the eyes, before them antic spectres dance, unusual fires their pointed heads advance, and airy phantoms rise. Such was the monstrous vision seen, when Brutus, now beneath his cares oppressed, and all Rome's fortunes rolling in his breast, before Philippi's latest field, before his fate did to Octavius lead, was vanquished by the spleen. Falsely the mortal part we blame, o'er our depressed and ponderous frame, which, till the first degrading sin let thee, its dull attendant in, still with the other did comply, nor clogged the active soul, disposed to fly, and range the mansions of its native sky. Nor, whilst in his own heaven he dwelt, whilst man his paradise possessed, his fertile garden in the fragrant east, and all united odours smelled, no armed sweets, until thy reign could shock the sense, or in the face a flushed unhandsome colour place. Now the jonquil o'ercomes the feeble brain, we faint beneath the aromatic pain, till some offensive scent thy powers appease, and pleasure we resign for short and nauseous ease. In every one thou dost possess, new are thy motions and thy dress. Now in some grove a listening friend thy false suggestions must attend, thy whispered griefs, thy fancied sorrows hear, breathed in a sigh, and witnessed by a tear. Whilst in the light and vulgar crowd, thy slaves, more clamorous and loud, by laughters unprovoked, thy influence too confess. In the imperious wife thou vapours art, which from o'erheated passions rise in clouds to the attractive brain, until descending thence again, through the o'ercast and showering eyes, upon her husband's softened heart, he the disputed point must yield, something resign of the contested field, till lordly man, born to imperial sway, compounds for peace, to make that right away, and woman, armed with spleen, does servilely obey. The fool, to imitate the wits, complains of thy pretended fits, and dullness, born with him, would lay upon thy accidental sway. Because sometimes thou dost presume into the ablest heads to come, that often men of thoughts refined, impatient of unequal sense, such slow returns, where they so much dispense, retiring from the crowd, are to thy shades inclined. O'er me, alas, thou dost too much prevail. I feel thy force, whilst I 'gainst thee rail. I feel my verse decay, and my cramped numbers fail. Through thy black jaundice I all objects see, as dark and terrible as thee. My lines decried, and my employment thought, and useless folly, or presumptuous fault. Whilst in the Muses' paths I stray, whilst in their groves, and by their secret springs, my hand delights to trace unusual things, and deviates from the known and common way, nor will in fading silks compose, faintly, the inimitable rose, fill up an ill-drawn bird, or paint on glass the sovereign's blurred and undistinguished face, the threatening angel, and the speaking ass. Patron thou art to every gross abuse, the sullen husband's feigned excuse, and the ill humour with his wife he spends, and bears recruited wit and spirits to his friends. The son of Bacchus pleads thy power, as to the glass he still repairs, pretends but to remove thy cares, snatch from thy shades one gay and smiling hour, and drown thy kingdom in a purple shower. When the coquette, whom every fool admires, would in variety be fair, and, changing hastily the scene, from light impertinent and vain, assumes a soft, a melancholy air, and of her eyes rebates the wandering fires, the careless posture and the head reclined, the thoughtful and composed face, proclaiming the withdrawn, the absent mind, allows the fop more liberty to gaze, who gently for the tender cause inquires. The cause, indeed, is a defect in sense, yet is the spleen alleged, and still the dull pretence. But these are thy fantastic harms, the tricks of thy pernicious stage, which do the weaker sort engage. Worse are the dire effects of thy more powerful charms. By thee, religion, all we know, that should enlighten here below, is veiled in darkness, and perplexed with anxious doubts, with endless scruples vexed, and some restraint implied from each perverted text, whilst touch not, taste not, what is freely given is but thy niggard voice, disgracing bounteous heaven. From speech restrained, by thy deceits abused, to deserts banished, or in cells reclused, mistaken votaries to the powers divine, whilst they a pure sacrifice design, do but the spleen obey, and worship at thy shrine. In vain to chase thee every art we try, in vain all remedies apply, in vain the Indian leaf infuse, or the parched eastern berry bruise. Some pass in vain these bounds, and nobler liquors use. Now harmony in vain we bring, inspire the flute, and touch the string. From harmony no help is had, music but soothes thee, if too sweetly sad, and if too light, but turns thee gaily mad. Though the physician's greatest gains, although his growing wealth he sees daily increased by ladies' fees, yet dost thou baffle all his studious pains. Not skilful lower thy source could find, or through the well-dissected body trace the secret, the mysterious ways, by which thou dost surprise and prey upon the mind. Though in the search, too deep for humane thought, with unsuccessful toil he wrought, till thinking thee to've catched, himself by thee was caught, retained thy prisoner, thy acknowledged slave, and sunk beneath thy chain to a lamented grave. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To Burns by Robert Bridges. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. Toast for the Greenock Club Dinner, January 1914. To Burns, brave Scotia's laurelled son, who drove his plough on Helicon, who with his Doric rhyme erewhile taught English bards to mend their style, and by the humour of his pen fairly befooled old Nicky Ben. Blithe Robbie Burns, we love thee well, because thou wert so like thy cell, and in full cups with festive cheer we toast thy fame from year to year. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To Hope by Charlotte Smith. Read for LibriVox.org by Phil Schempf. O Hope, thou soother sweet of human woes, how shall I lure thee to my haunts forlorn? For me wilt thou renew the withered rose, and clear my painful path of pointed thorn? Ah, come, sweet nymph, in smiles and softness dressed, like the young hours that lead the tender year. Enchantress, come and charm my cares to rest. Alas, the flatterer flies and will not hear. A prey to fear, anxiety, and pain, must I a sad existence still deplore? Lo, the flowers fade, but all the thorns remain. For me the vernal garland blooms no more. Come then, pale Misery's love, be thou my cure, and I will bless thee, who, though slow, art sure. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To My Dear and Loving Husband by Anne Bradstreet, read for LibriVox.org by Helen Z. Ferrara, for Jean. To my dear and loving husband, if ever two were one, then surely we. If ever man were loved by wife, then thee. If ever wife were happy in a man, compare with me, ye woman, if you can. I prize thy love more than whole mines of gold, or all the riches that the east doth hold. My love is such that rivers cannot quench, nor aught but love from thee give recompense. Thy love is such I can no way repay. The heavens reward thee manifold, I pray. Then while we live in love, let's so persevere, that when we live no more, we may live ever. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Truth and Fable by Jean-Pierre Claris de Florian, 1755 to 1794. Read for LibriVox.org. At length among mankind to dwell, Truth came all naked from her well. By living there so long alone, she had a little posse grown, and old and young all fled surprised the moment she was recognized. Poor Truth remained confounded quite by such an unsuspected sight. Just then she chanced to see Fable in all her finery, tricked out in plumes and diamonds too. The most of these were false, 'tis true, but yet were dazzling to the view. Who in familiar courtesy exclaimed, "Oh, here you are, I see, and quite alone too, I observe. Why are you here, my sister dear? What end do you propose to serve?" "Pray tell me, if you please," says Truth. "I find I'm here to freeze, for all I meet upon the road deny me shelter or abode. I'm shunned as if in fear or hate, but that, alas, must be the fate of dames like me when out of date." "Not so," says Fable in reply, "for you are younger still than I, and yet, if I may be believed, I'm everywhere still well received. But let me ask, why 'tis that you expose your nakedness to view? That's not discreet. Now list to me, since well our interests do agree. Let my broad mantle drape your form, 'twill serve to shelter both from harm. Among the wise, for your sake, all will my foolish sayings take, and with the fools, because of me, you always well received will be." Thus Fable side by side with Truth, like as two sisters hand in hand, will teach and please both age and youth, and welcomed be in every land. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Two Bald Heads by Jean-Pierre Claris de Florian, 1755 to 1794. Read for LibriVox.org. By chance, two bald-headed beggars found a something shining in the ground. Each strove to have the prize. They fought and fought with kicks and blows, pulled hair and tore their ragged clothes, and blacked each other's eyes. He who at last the object gained lost his few locks that still remained, and when his prize he looked upon, lo, 'twas a broken comb he'd won. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Under Two Windows by Mrs. Schuyler Van Rensselaer. Read for LibriVox.org by Nemo. Under Two Windows. 1. Obad. The dawn is here, and the long night through I have never seen thy face, though my feet have worn the patient grass at the gate of thy dwelling place. While the white moon sailed till, red in the west, it found the far world edge, no leaflet stirred of the leaves that climb to garland thy window ledge. Yet the vine had quivered from root to tip, and opened its flowers again, if only the low moon's light had glanced on a moving casement pane. Warm was the wind that entered in where the barrier stood ajar, and the curtain shook with its gentle breath, white as young lilies are. But there came no hand all the slow night through to draw the folds aside. I longed as the moon and the vine leaves long, or to set the casement wide. 3 times in a low-hung nest there dreamed his 5 sweet notes a bird, and thrice my heart leaped up at the sound I thought thou hadst surely heard. But now that thy praise is caroled aloud by 1,000 throats awake, Shall I watch from afar and silently, as under the moon, for thy sake? Nay, bold in the sun I speak thy name, I too, and I wait no more. Thy hand, thy face, in the window niche, but thy kiss at the open door. 2. Nocturne. My darling, come. The wings of the dark have wafted the sunset away, and there's room for much in a summer night, but no room for delay. A still moon looketh down from the sky, and a wavering moon looks up from every hollow in the green hills that holds a pool in its cup. The woodland borders are wreathed with bloom, elder, viburnum, rose. The young trees yearn on the breast of the wind that sighs of love as it goes. The small stars drown in the moon-washed blue, but the greater ones abide, with Vega high in the midmost place, Altair not far aside. The glades are dusk and soft the grass, where the flower of the elder gleams, mist white, moth-like, a spirit awake in the dark of forest streams. Arcturus beckons into the east, and tarries toward the south, that sendeth a zephyr sweet with time to seek for thy sweeter mouth. Shall the blossom wake, the star look down, all night and have naught to see? Shall the reeds that sing by the wind-brush pool say nothing of thee and me? My darling comes, my arms are content, my feet are guiding her way. There is room for much in a summer night, but no room for delay. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Valentine Song by Robert Argyle Campbell. Read by Helen Z. Ferrara, Teaneck N.J. Borgine. Valentine Song. Dearest, let these roses in their purity be a present symbol of my love for thee. Underneath the blossom thorns are sure to grow. Take heed lest you touch them, they would pain you so. Ah, my faults like thorns are, but cannot they be hidden neath the flower of my love for thee? This poem is in the public domain.
Winter's Delights by Thomas Campion. Read for LibriVox.org by Thomas Peter. Now winter nights enlarge the number of their hours, and clouds their storms discharge upon the airy towers. Let now the chimneys blaze, and cups o'erflow with wine. Let well-tuned words amaze with harmony divine. Now yellow waxen lights shall wait on honey love, while youthful revels, masks, and courtly sights sleep's leaden spells remove. The time doth well dispense with lovers' long discourse. Much speech hath some defence, though beauty no remorse. All do not all things well, some measures comely tread, some knotted riddles tell, some poems smoothly read. The summer hath his joys, and winter his delights, though love and all his pleasures are but toys, they shorten tedious nights. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Wounded by Anonymous. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. Wounded. Up the quiet street in the early Sunday morning came with slow steps and silently 2 wounded soldiers. One with shattered arm and a cruel sabre cut on his forehead, one with amputated leg, hobbled slowly along on crutches. In the thunderstorm and sharp crash of terrible battle, mid blood, carnage, and death, comrades in arms, they fell side by side, one of them senseless, the other feeling his life-blood flowing away. Faintness came over him, breathing the sulphurous smoke, with the tornado of battle stunning his brain. Faintness, forgetfulness, a vision of childhood, of the sweet heaven-time of life, came to him. He hoped it was death, coming as no king of terrors, but as a beautiful flower-crowned child, bidding a hero welcome to the great halls of the laurel-wreathed dead, those who died for their country. From this dream of the future came sharp awaking to life, rattling away in the ambulance, crashing pains shooting wildly from leg to brains, the heart now and then grasped with steel fingers and squeezed. The knife and the tourniquet, the rapid surgical operation, the poor, pale fellow, maimed for life. At home in a hospital, kindly nursed and tended, hearing for the first time in life the name of God, not taken in vain, seeing the good deeds of true woman. Knowing that should he die, he would ask no gentler sounds to cheer him on his road to the hereafter than the prayer he once heard read by the lady in grey to a dying soldier in the same hospital. Thus passed he back again to life. Now convalescent, he walks in the fresh morning up the quiet street, under the leafy shadow of lindens, he and his comrade in battle. In the faces of both you may see that they know how earnest is life. The angel of death on the battlefield raised the veil of the future. Transient the glimpse, but they will never forget it. The angel of mercy here in the hospital bound up their wounds, cheering their hearts with kind looks and well-spoken words of true sympathy. Solemnly earnest and beautiful is life to these two wounded soldiers. The lame one is weary, and halts by the steps of a handsome house. His comrade with one arm helps him sit down there, on the lowest step, leaning against the white marble balustrade. Through lace and silk curtains, from drawing-room window, looks down the street a beautiful woman, waiting impatiently carriage, coachman, and footman to carry her grandly to church. Up comes the carriage, wide open the doors of the house. Madame descends. How is this? She stops by the two wounded soldiers. I have two sons in the army, she thought. What if they were weary and wounded like these? Then she speaks to the comrades in battle, and learning where they were going, insisted on their taking her carriage. She will have no refusal, and now John the footman, inwardly groaning, assists the lame man to enter, then the other one takes a seat. Off they whirl to their hospital home, with a blessing upon the fair lady who dared follow the teachings of one whom that morning she worshipped with words and with deeds. Open your hands and your hearts, ye who stand afar off from the battle. Lo, the wounded and dying are here at your doors. Slumber no more, but awake, awake to their cries. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.